to take that chance.
We asked Luke Prater, how did you first get into music?
So as a kid, I got into playing music like a lot of people start off in church. We always grew up in church, and then was presented the opportunity to play in the youth band when I was probably 9 or 10. I wasn't quite a youth, and then I was also allowed to be in the adult band. And I was not an adult. I was probably 12 or 13, and so at that point we were going to church. Seemed like we lived at the church. We'd go to Sundays and Wednesdays for church, of course, and then there'd be rehearsal probably another 2 days, one for the kids, one for the adults, and or the teens. So that was the first exposure. And then country music I started playing. My brother got me a gig the night that he was going to get engaged. He did get engaged that night there in New Berlin underneath the little canopy at the community center. I made $88 that night, and I thought I was rich for sure. And then right after that, probably a month or two after, somebody who was at that event got me a quote-unquote residency at this little steakhouse in Vernia. Although I think most residencies pay, this one did not pay anything other than tips, but it was a good way to start getting my feet wet, start cutting my teeth. A place called Tejas, and I was called Melanie's there in Vernia. And so that was my starting off. Those were my early years.
We asked Luke Prater, what is something people might be surprised to learn about you?
For some reason, people think it's real neat. So I'm left-handed. I write left-handed. When I was a kid, my dad was a guitar player. He was a Nashville musician for a couple of years back in the day. So when I first started playing guitar, he didn't have any left-handed guitars. It was all right-handed. So even though I probably should have learned left-handed, he said, hey, heads up, left-handed guitars are going to cost you way more money, so just learn how to play right-handed. And all these years later, now having made a living on my guitar, I'm so glad that he made me do that, because I've saved a lot of money playing right-handed guitars. But I am left-handed, so I write left-handed, I golf left-handed, bat left-handed. So I don't know, people find that interesting for some reason. Also do a fair bit of mechanicking, not for money, not for other people, usually just for myself. I'm so stingy. I did a Dave Ramsey course when I was in high school, and I'm sure a lot of those isms are still with me. So I try to save money wherever I can. And a lot of that boils down to doing my own mechanic work. So I've had to pretty much completely rebuild the motor on the van. I'll spare the details, but we blew a valve spring going to a show in Orange Grove. One time we had to rebuild that. Pretty much everything except the transmission on my truck I've had to rebuild at some point. And so I've got a pretty good crash course and all that stuff. So I'd say being left-handed and being fairly mechanically inclined, those are probably my two surprises for people.
We asked Luke Prater, what do you like to do outside of music?
Outside of music, there's not too much that I really do, to be honest with you. It's kind of all-consuming. I spend most of my time right here in this office recording. I've gotten to do some producer-type stuff, some session stuff for a friend of mine, Drew Oliver, getting his music catalog together and kind of trying to mentor him as much as I can with the limited knowledge that I have of this whole thing. And that's been a real pleasure to just kind of pass along a lot of what Curtis helped me with years and years ago onto him, as far as not only the music side of things and the production and professionalism, but also like the financial stuff, budgeting and routing and all that stuff. And so I don't know what the future holds for that side of things, but it is definitely enjoyable, and it's kind of like a wholesome fulfillment, getting to help somebody else out, and also get to use the equipment that I've grabbed over the years. Built up kind of a little arsenal here in my office, so it's cool to finally put that stuff to work for more than just my demos. Love to fish. I've not been huge on hunting in the years just because I haven't had the opportunities, but this year I got to go sandhill crane hunting out in West Texas. This winter I'm going to Colorado with my brother, try to go shoot an elk. So kind of getting thrown into the fire there, and it's a ball. I love just getting to get away and completely disconnect and my phone not work anymore. It's kind of fun. Other than that, we're pretty low key. My wife and I, we just on a night off, watch a movie, or she likes to play Call of Duty, which is awesome and funny. I'm not huge on video games, but she loves to do that. So that's it. Nothing too crazy. We go bowl every now and again. So
We asked Prater, what's a dream venue or artist you would like to share a stage with?
Dream venue, probably the same as anybody else. You got to play the Grand Ole Opry at some point. I have a picture up on the wall right behind the camera of me and my grandma standing on stage at the Opry when I was 15. Got to stand in the circle, and just surreal being there. Like we all see the videos of, you know, how much history has been in that circle. So of course that's a big goal. Red Rocks, of course, is huge, but I think the next realistic-ish goal would be, I would say, Billy Bob's in Fort Worth. We've gotten to play Green Hall. We got to headline Green Hall for the first time last year. Shout out. We got to play Brewster Street. That was on my bucket list. There's been so many more in Texas that have been on the bucket list that we've gotten to cross off, and that's really the only one that I haven't been able to cross off the list. So say, you know, short behind the Opry and Red Rocks, I would say Billy Bob's. As far as artists to collaborate with or just work with, I got so much respect for Cody Johnson and such a high esteem for him. Just seeing him so many years ago when I was a kid, there's always just been such a quality and a standard to everything that he puts out and does that, you know, I think it would just be unreal to get to do something with him one day. As far as some of the other artists, they are kind of attainable, and I think they're going to be on this next project that we're working on, so I'm not going to spill the beans on those quite yet. So we'll leave it on the Opry, Red Rocks, and Billy Bob's, and then we'll say Cody Johnson for the collab.
We asked Luke Prater, where do you hope your music takes you within the next 3 to 5 years?
There's no way to know. I would say what I've always said. When I was a kid, I used to tell people when they asked me, you know, what's your hope, what's your goal with all this? And I used to say, if I could just pay my bills playing music, then I would be happy. And I was able to do that for the first time about 4 years ago, and you know, actually have enough to eat and maybe go out to dinner every once in a while. And things have gotten better since then, you know, a little bit better since then. We're still not rolling in a tour bus or anything, but luckily, you know, my wife and I just bought our first home, and we're doing okay. We're very blessed, and so I feel so fortunate for that. But the goal is, you know, I've seen in terms of the numbers, streams, revenue, gross and net has just grown year over year. And so my thought process has always been, if we can just keep steady growth, Zane Williams said, you know, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So if you can just continue to see some type of growth, it doesn't have to be exponential, but just something, just 10 or 15 or 20% growth year over year, then you should, you know, theoretically at some point achieve the goals that you're looking for within reason, right? So 3 to 5 years from now, I hope to, you know, at bare minimum, just see 50% growth, 60% growth, and, you know, all fronts, if I can just keep things growing 10%, 15, 20% year over year. So nothing too crazy. Of course, a tour bus wouldn't hurt. My back is starting to hurt a little bit from the van rides, but that's okay. We'll deal with it.
We asked Luke Prater, what are your short-term goals as an artist?
For the short term, I love this question. You hear a lot, I get a lot of questions for the long term. So short term, you know, with every single piece of content that we release, whether it's a video or any type of media, anything that we put out into the world, I always say that it's like our lottery ticket. So if you put a song out, you know, there's a 1 in 1 million or 1 in 5 million, 10 million. I don't know what the odds are, but there's a pretty minute chance, lottery chance of that being the thing that is your catalyst into, you know, the stardom that you're looking for, reaching all those new people. But you can't guarantee that. You can't say, okay, for sure this video, this song is going to do that. But what you can do is be consistent, and you can be on top of it and just thorough and making sure that you're doing all that you possibly can just to stay relevant, right? So short term, there's weekly goals, there's monthly goals, of just making sure that we're on top of all that stuff, writing, recording, posting, all this type of stuff, doing these interviews, and keeping everybody happy on all fronts of the team, right? And then as far as touring, there's certainly ticket numbers that we're looking to fulfill for this next year that are, double what we were looking to do last year. There's different markets that we're looking to tap into. So the short-term goals are, I would just say, to sum it up, breaking into new markets on all fronts, social media wise and touring, kind of across the board.
We asked Luke Prater, are there any collaborations you're excited about?
So the latest single that we have out is a song called Pickin Grinnin. It's a collaboration, a duet with Curtis Grimes, who's a friend of mine. He took us on the road years ago, and that was super cool. We're going in next week to go record the first half of my next record. It'll be my second full-length record. That'll be out by the end of next year, by the end of 2027. And there's some cool stuff that we have lined up for it in terms of collaborations. I'm not going to spill the beans yet, but we've made some really cool friends over the last couple of years that I'm going to cash in some favors for and get them to be on this next project. So stay tuned.
We asked Luke Prater to tell us about his recent release and the story behind it.
So Pickin Grinnin is the title track off of my very first record, this record right here. I love it. These vinyls just came in. The title track is a co-write and a duet with a friend of mine, Curtis Grimes. So Curtis took me on the road with him all of 2021. We played almost 100 shows. We played 13 different states that year. I think the year prior, I had played one state, Texas, and probably 40 or 50 shows. So it was such a stark contrast. And all the shows that I had played before were just acoustic, and then maybe I had a dozen band shows in the books at that time. So definitely changed my life and the trajectory of my life. So I'm so indebted to Curtis, but this project, Pickin Grinnin, I wanted it to be, an encapsulation of the growth since then. And so while we were on the road that year, we wrote a handful of songs. We wrote The Right One. We wrote Pickin Grinnin, this one, a couple more that are on the record. And so I waited to record Pickin Grinnin until I knew I was going to have a full-length record so I could make that the title track. Kind of as a thank you to Curtis Grimes, but also, like I said, as a stamp on the evolution since that happened 5 years ago. So that's the single that's out right now. It's doing great for us on Texas radio. I sure appreciate Texas Brew for playing it. And that's what we got.
We asked Luke Prater, what are you currently working on? Are you working on an EP, album, single, tour? What's going on?
So I'm currently working on my second full-length record, the first full-length record, this right here, Pickin Grinnin. These just came in, these vinyls. That album came out on January 2nd of this year. And so it's been doing great for us so far. We've been touring off of the back of it. We have the single, the title track of the album out to radio right now, and it's doing great. But I got to keep it moving forward. So album number 2 will be here by the end of next year, by the end of 2027, hopefully closer to mid-year. But I'm going in next week to go record the first half of that record. We're going to do 6 songs, and I'm so excited. They're songs different than pretty much every song on that album, Pickin Grinnin. And it'll be the new evolution, and so I'm excited for y'all to hear it, and we're going to keep working on it. We'll have that out by the end of next year.
We asked Luke Prater, what is one thing you want your audience to feel after you perform?
Yeah, the main takeaway I would hope for anybody who comes to a show would be the feeling that I've had so many times seeing guys like Aaron Watson or Randy Rogers or Cody Johnson, right? So the whole set is a roller coaster, fast songs, slow songs, cool solos and all this stuff, but you end the set on this extreme super high, right? And the goal there is to have that person get in their car, their truck at the end of the night and say like, wow, that was such a great show. I can't wait to see another one. Or better yet, before they get to the car, come and see us at the merch booth and we can talk and hang out. And when they leave, at this stage where we're at right now, we get to talk to every single person who wants to come and talk to us at the merch booth. And I love being able to do that and connect with people because, we're not only trying to make fans, right? It's like making friends every time that we're in the middle of nowhere, out in West Texas or North Texas or South Texas, or if we're in freaking Kansas or Oklahoma, under no other circumstance would I get to just meet these random people, and they come up to us with just so much like kindness. They don't know us really, and we don't really know them, but I love leaving a venue and feeling like, wow, I've made some friends in that town, right? And so I hope that these people, wherever we're playing, no matter what state or city it's in, that they kind of feel the same. If we get to have an interaction, sell them some merch or whatever, that they get in the car and they want to go listen to the music, they want to see another show, not just because, you know, the show was spectacular, hopefully that's enough, but because they got to connect with us, and these people are happy to support us because they know that we're just out here just trying to make a living.
We asked Luke Prater, how has your music evolved since you started?
My songwriting has always been just real reflective of my life. And so as my life has changed, so has my songwriting, right? So when I was younger and going through heartbreaks and breakups and girlfriends and whatever nonsense, that's what a lot of my music was about, of course. And then as I've grown up and you start going on the road and playing music and being far away from home, my life kind of shifted that way, and so did my songwriting. And then you get married and you settle down and you fall in love, and my songwriting shifted that way. So then as far as musically, there's definitely been big shifts in quality, recording quality, and even songwriting and just song quality as a whole from when I was a kid to now. And I think that's a natural evolution for everybody, but when I was 17, 18, I had no idea what I was doing in the studio, and I'm sure they were wondering what I was doing there also, but I had to get my feet wet somewhere. And then 2021, put out my second project, and you know, I had a little bit of experience in the studio, but I was still extremely green. And then now every year we go back and forth from Nashville recording, you know, whether it's for a full-length project or singles or EPs or whatever. But now, you know, I have my team that I work with there in Nashville, and we're very calculated on everything that we do, and make sure that I bring everything to the table exactly the way I want it to play out and lay out and record. So the professionalism, I think, overall, I think that's in every facet in the touring arena or in music, recording. The professionalism has definitely grown over the years as I've grown as a person.
We asked Luke Prater, do you perform solo or with a band? What's your current lineup like?
We perform as a group, as a band. So there's 6 of us that load up in the van every weekend. There's 4 of us in the band, and then there's a TM to keep everything in order. And then my wife comes with us most of the time too to help us sell the t-shirts. And yeah, it helps having a group of people, mainly just to help unload everything, but also makes for a good time having a whole group of guys that are like-minded and all, you know, pushing towards the same goal. So yeah, we are a group.
We asked Luke Prater, what has been your favorite live performance to date and why?
So July 30th, 2021, this is our very first time to ever play Green Hall. We were on the road that year with Curtis Grimes, and this was our very first time at Green Hall, and it was a sellout crowd. And so right before I went on stage, Curtis came up to me, and he knew I was so excited. He knew how much it meant to me. I grew up just going to Green Hall, sneaking in there, telling my mom I was somewhere else, and then actually drive into New Braunfels to go to Green Hall. So I was so nervous and so excited, and there were so many people there. Right before I went on stage, he came and told me, hey, it's sold out, so no pressure, right? Have fun. You know, this is just the first time you'll play it. Hopefully there's many more. So got done with the set. Nothing went terribly wrong. It was actually a wonderful show. I had like every person I had ever met at CM came to the show to support and was there in the crowd. People were singing along, and it was so much fun. And after the show, I went back to the merch booth, and there was probably a 15 or 20 minute changeover between our set and Curtis's. So I was trying to sell some t-shirts, of course, make some money. And this girl came up to me and she asked if I could get her friend a shout out. It was their birthday. And I said, I don't know, I can try for sure. So wound up going back on stage. I think at that point I was doing the national anthem for Curtis to open his set. And then it went right into one of his songs called The Cowboy Kind. They were did them both in A, right? So it was real fluid. It was smooth. So I get on stage, and she was still in the back of the venue, and she was kind of looking at me like, what the heck? So later on in the set, there was a keyboard on stage. I would wind up going up on stage during Curtis's set to go play keyboard during some of his worship songs. And so when I went on stage to go play keys, I saw that girl in the crowd again. This is the third time we had some type of contact. So she was worshiping to all these songs, and like I said, I grew up in church. I've always had a strong faith, or tried to at least, and so I thought that was pretty cool. She was in the crowd there at Green Hall worshiping. So after the set, I get off stage and I walk down. I'm saying hi to my friends and my family, and then she was standing right there, and we start talking for a second. She was like, I didn't know you were going to be on stage, whatever. So this group came over. It was like this bridal shower, bachelorette party, something. They wanted a picture. So I said, hey, give me 1 second. Meet me back over there at the merch booth in a little bit, like 5 minutes. So I did that. I went back over there. She was waiting for me. She said, hey, if I buy a t-shirt, does it come with your phone number? I said, absolutely, it does. So that was July 30th, 2021. In June of this year, we will have been married 4 years. That girl was my wife, Hannah Marie. And so it was the best show I had ever played. And then on top of that, it was the night that I met my wife. So can't beat that, right?
We asked Luke Prater, what themes do you find yourself drawn to in your writing?
So my writing has always been just real personal. I've never had a hard time like just opening the book of my life and writing about it. So that being the case, I'm now able to, at 26, look back on the stuff that I was writing at 16 and 18 and 20 and 22. And a lot of that music is a pretty good reflection or just a tell of where my life was at that point. And so, of course, when I was 18, I was coming off the back of a heartache like a lot of people. And so I had a whole EP that was pretty much strictly about heartache. And I've still got quite a few songs, sad heartbreak songs in country music, or like Peas and Carrots. So I still have quite a few of those. But, in the years past, these recent years, I've gotten married, and my wife and I just got our first home, and we got a dog, and things are pretty domestic, and we're definitely so blessed. And so things have started picking up, I guess, in the later years. Not so sad, not so heartbreak. And again, it's not necessarily a specific theme. In fact, I try to steer away from having any two songs sound not only musically the same, but lyrically even sharing the same themes, right? I want every song that I write to be a unique composition and a unique story to tell. But historically, for me, there's been a lot of heartbreak songs, and then a lot of songs about being on the road and, either having fun, honky-tonking, driving a million miles, or being gone and, missing my wife back home, or whoever it was at that time, girlfriend, whatever. And so try to keep the themes always evolving, right? Because my life is always evolving, and I'm just trying to write about whatever is real to me at that time.
We asked Luke Prater, do you write your own music, and what is your writing process like?
I do write about 99% of my music. I'm not opposed to outside writes, and there's a lot of songs, probably 30 or 40% of my music is co-writes with friends of mine or other artists, or both. And I do a lot of the writing right here in my office most of the time. This is a new house, so I haven't written too much here. Actually, a lot of the new albums that we'll have out next year will be would have been written right here in this office. But usually a lot of it's solitary, and usually I'll sit right here at this computer and maybe play something on this keyboard or that guitar over there, and just see. It's usually music first. I've been a guitar player for almost my entire life, and so I feel like it's a lot easier for me to pick up a guitar and just start fiddling than it is for me to just start spitting out melodies. I'd rather 90% of the time do the music first and then follow it up with words and a melody that kind of fits on top of that. So that's the normal process. Of course, there's outliers. Some of my songs, I've heard just something in my ear that feels like a melody, and I'll go and just hum it, and then I'll write around that. But for I'd say 95% of what I write, it's a pretty structured process where I come sitting here and then just get to work on trying to find something musically, and then I'll come back over it and get the lyrics for it.
We asked Luke Prater, how would you describe your music to someone who's never heard it?
Our sound is pretty uniquely ours, I hope, at least. I never write my music with, any specific intent in mind to sound like a specific, thing or person. It's always just whatever I feel like writing that day and whatever I think sounds good. As far as the live set, a lot of what I write is guitar heavy. I've been a guitar player my whole life. I've been singing for probably half of it, but I've been playing guitar since I was in diapers, really. So there's definitely a big influence there from guys like Vince Gill and Glenn Campbell and so many more, Steve Warner, guys like Scotty Alexander that we run with now. There's that thing, the heavy guitar playing lead singer, something that we carry as well. But it's definitely Texas country, and I hope, it's just, I guess in all the music that I write, my dad's the number one, where I hope, he holds the standard of traditional country music, trying to keep traditional country music alive. So not that 100% of my music is traditional. It definitely gets a little more bluesy and a little more rocky at times, even though it's not all the way on that side of the red dirt spectrum to where it's super rocky on every song. But we throw a wide net, but it's fun and unique, and I think that is Texas music, right? Unique and fun and genuine.
We asked Luke Prater, who were your early music influences?
I've had so many different influences over the years. Dad was the first one, of course. I think like a lot of people also. He grew up playing music, country music. His dad actually played country music, and so it has been in the family. My dad moved to Nashville and he was like 17 to go play guitar, and then came right back because he didn't think he was good enough to do that in the professional setting, like all the session guys there in Nashville. But so growing up, he taught us all the basic chords and a couple old country songs, some Merle Haggard and stuff. And then there's been so many influences since then. I know in the live world, I saw Cody Johnson when I was 15 in Nixon, Texas. There was probably 200 people there outside of the little ag barn just outside of town. And again, there wasn't that many people there, and he put on the same show that you see now on the, ACMs or CMAs. And it was just kind of mind-boggling to me how, even though there wasn't that many people there, he put on a show as if it was a amphitheater or arena. So I think I've kind of kept that mentality of, a lot of people tell you, whether it's 200 or 2,000 or 220, put on the same show as if, there's a million people there. So that was definitely a huge influence on me. And then I saw Randall. I had the opportunity to work with Randall King when I was 18, I think, to go do merch for him at a couple different venues. It was only a handful, but one of them was Copeland the first time. And same thing. There was actually quite a bit of people there, probably 500 or 600. And I remember the live show just being like something I had never seen before. It was just like, it's an awesome show and barn burning. So I in years past have, tried to translate that and put that into my set and carry that same type of energy with me, no matter where we're playing or no matter how many people are there.
We asked Luke Prater, where are you from and how did your hometown influence your music?
I grew up in Vernia, Texas, right outside of San Antonio. Growing up, Texas country music was a big deal in our town, in the surrounding towns, Floresville and Poth and Stockdale and Kosciuszko and Nixon. Every year we would have our festivals, whether it was the Bluebonnet Fest or Jubilee over in Stockdale. And that was my first kind of exposure to Texas country, was those festivals. They'd have Aaron Watson. I remember seeing Kyle Park there at the Bluebonnet Fest in La Vernia when I was like 9 or 10, and just wanted to be like those guys. As a kid, you couldn't tell me that there was any difference between that guy and George Strait or whoever. It seemed like they had it made there on those stages. So that definitely set the early imprint of wanting to be in Texas country music as a kid. As far as the influence I have from it now, I've got probably 5 songs about my hometown, Lavernia, Texas. I have a song called This Town, actually, that we drove around, shot the music video for it all over Lavernia, New Berlin, St. Hedwig. We've gone back and played the festivals that they have there in Lavernia now, years and years later, and I still live probably 30 minutes from the town I grew up in. My wife's actually a teacher there in Lavernia, so huge influence for sure. I think I still hold that small town mentality. We just moved over towards Seguin, between Seguin and New Braunfels, but I definitely still have the small town heart.
We asked Luke Prater, do you remember the moment you realized you wanted to take music seriously?
So as far as genres, my playlist is all over the place. I wouldn't publish a lot of the stuff that I listen to. I wouldn't record a lot of the stuff that I listen to. It's all, if I go to the gym, of course, it's rock and roll and rap. And then as far as the stuff that I play live, the life that I live out on the road, right? It's a lot of country music, a lot of traditional stuff, newer stuff. Contrary to a lot of the folks that I hang out with, I don't mind a lot of the new music. I'm not a big fan of like Florida Georgia Line, but I love people making money. I think making money is the best, right? So when I see somebody like Morgan Wallen or Luke Combs just making all of the money, I think it's cool. I think capitalism is the way to go, and I think it's awesome that you can do that. So I'm sure all of that, all of my listening, whatever comes into your ears, seeps into, you know, your style and who you are. So I'm sure all of that has an influence on me. But as far as songwriting in particular, your guitar playing, you know, there's a lot of Steve Wariner, Vince Gill, or Glenn Campbell, a lot of that stuff. I really love how melodic the music is and how it fits with the composition of the music. So yeah, something like that, something like those guys.
So what you say we make a couple bad decisions, find a well and throw a couple pennies in it. Might not be more than just one dance, but I'd like to take that chance.